Welcome to Alchemy Avenue, where we transform in real time, trust the vibe, and grow on purpose. This isn't just a podcast, it's a movement, a reminder that you don't need fixing, just unlocking. Around here, we laugh, we build, we heal, and we elevate, all powered by that deep inner knowing that says, this is exactly where I'm meant to be. You were made for this version of you, so let's expand, let's enjoy it, and let's keep becoming who we already are. Tap in. This is Alchemy Avenue. Welcome back to another great and amazing episode. Let's get into it today. What we're going to unpack is when nothing is wrong, but is no longer yours. Outgrowing what still works. To me, this is the harder or more challenging type of change that we're going to unpack and co-create on some things on today. So we talk a lot about letting go of things that aren't serving anymore. Toxic situations, bad relationships, unhealthy habits, environments where we know we're not happy at all. And those decisions can still be difficult. Not taking anything away from what those can bring and how you have to navigate that. But at least there's evidence, there's something that is making you uncomfortable, or something you can, that you can physically, attach the reason for removing yourself, or just no longer being in that situation. Well, something happened, something broke, something clearly isn't working. But what happens when nothing's wrong? What happens when the job still pays well, the friendship is still good, the relationship still has love, the routine still works, people still respect the version of you that you've become. Maybe you even successful at it. And then if you're watching this, you're very successful at whatever it is. But somewhere inside, it's not me anymore. It's not mine to carry anymore. So that's a completely different type of decision to me, because now there's nothing to blame for the shift, for whatever that you need to do. And nobody has to be the villain. Nothing has to collapse. You aren't necessarily trying to escape something painful. You might simply be responding to something true. And I say true in a sense, true to you. Not necessarily true to the physical manifestations of the situation, but true to you. Self-development, self-knowledge, understanding who you are. This is why this is very, very, very important, because this episode is going to tap right into or speak to that knowledge of how well do you know yourself, and if you're able to even recognize this situation like this and be able to make the decisions that you feel you need to make. And things don't have to collapse or be in a space of, everything falls apart before you make these kind of decisions. So you're not trying to escape anything painful. You might simply just responding to, like I said, what is true to you. Again, I'm not saying true in a sense of what has manifest, but true to you. I think that's one of the more complicated parts of the growth that you can go through, especially when you've done a lot of shadow work. You've worked on yourself a lot. You understand who you are trigger wise. Because once you understand who you are trigger wise, then the triggers don't work the same way that they have worked. So that leaves you room for more peace and more understanding. Because again, sometimes growth isn't asking, what do I need to get away from? Sometimes it's asking, what am I willing to stop being? And that can be the hardest thing to outgrow. It's something that still works. So when you are becoming who you have to be, from time that we were young, we're constantly asking some version of this question. What are we going to be? What do you do? What's your title, your purpose? What are you building? What are you becoming? And eventually we start answering those questions like this. I'm the provider, the dependable one, creative one, successful one, the spiritual one, the leader, the strong one. I hear a lot, especially if you're watching this, you're definitely one that has identified with being the strong one, the person that can handle and, things can happen to, and you're still, sturdy, you still 10 toes down in whatever situation. I'm the person that everybody calls when something goes wrong, and there's nothing wrong with being that identity. The identity of that, there's nothing wrong with it. It really gives your life and gives you structure. But again, something interesting can happen. Eventually, who I am becomes who I have to keep being. Let me say that again. Who I am becomes who I have to keep being. Now, I've created expectations around myself. Other people have expectations around me, and without realizing it, I may start maintaining a version of myself instead of experiencing myself. I may start maintaining a version of myself. If you got to maintain a version of yourself, you have outgrown that version in the way that you've been managing it. I may start maintaining a version of myself instead of experiencing myself. That's where identity can become confinement, boxed in, because now I can't change my mind. I can't become curious about something different. I can't, according to what that, expectation you have put on yourself and others can put on you. I can't say, you know what, I don't want that anymore, because I've already told everybody who I am. But maybe maturity means giving yourself, myself, permission to say that really was me then, and this is really me now. So it's okay for me to really be that in the past. The past can be a day ago. And it's okay. The past can be a day ago. You can make the decision to say that really was me, but now this is me. This is me now in this particular space. Neither version has to be fake. Neither version has to be wrong. You change, you learn, you experience more life, and you are allowed to respond to what you discovered. Seriously, you have discovered new ideas and new pathways through life. Some new teaching, meditation. You may have experience with, plant medicine or anything like that. You may have come to a different realization, and that is okay. Like literally, it's really okay. So you don't owe every previous version of yourself a lifetime contract. You really don't. You don't have to be what you was, especially again, because I know we make stuff look good. I know we make it look amazing. We make stuff look wonderful. However, we don't have to be married to that version of ourselves, or, like I said, give it a lifetime contract. So something doesn't have to be wrong. It really doesn't. I think this is where, it can be a little more challenging, because we've been conditioned to look for reasons. Why would you leave the job? Why would you change that relationship? Why don't you hang around those people anymore? Why don't you do that anymore? What happened? And sometimes nothing has to happen. Sometimes it doesn't. That's difficult for people to understand, because we're used to believing change requires a problem, but maybe something doesn't have to become terrible before you're allowed to reconsider your relationship with it. To me, that's the way it's supposed to be. I'm supposed to, everything doesn't have to be, like I said, a full collapse before I have to make a change. I could just feel that I'm in tune enough with myself, and I understand how I need to move, because it doesn't feel like it felt. And that's okay. It really does. It really is okay. And maybe something was exactly what you needed for 10 years. Great, amazing. It was a perfect for 10 years. Maybe it taught us, supported us, fed us, protected us, helped us become who we are at this very moment. And maybe its purpose in our life has changed. That doesn't make the previous chapter a mistake. It doesn't make people involved bad either. That part. We don't have to villainize anybody. It doesn't mean we wasted our time. It just means you're listening different now. But there's another side of this that we got to be careful with, because every uncomfortable feeling isn't misalignment. I don't want that to get confused. Sometimes we're uncomfortable because we're growing. Sometimes we're uncomfortable because something requires discipline. Sometimes a relationship needs just a conversation. Sometimes the job isn't the problem. Sometimes the problem is how you participated in it. Our participation in it may need to change. We can still be in it and still serve the function, but how we serve that function just may need to change, because that part may be the thing that's pulling us down. So sometimes we're simply bored. You could just be bored and you don't realize. And sometimes new looks exciting. It really does. So this isn't, and what I'm saying, this isn't, if it doesn't feel good, leave. That's not discernment. The deeper question is, do I know myself well enough to recognize the difference between something challenging me to growth and something requiring me to abandon myself to maintain it? I think that's how you differentiate a lot of different things. Is it challenging me to grow, challenging me to see myself in a different way? Because if I got to abandon who I am and who I know myself to be at this very now moment, then I don't want to be involved in it. I really don't. So something can change you without being wrong for you. And sometimes, and something can be comfortable without being right for you. It can. It really can. That's why knowing yourself really matters. It really does. That's why I was saying this is going to really speak to a big part of how well do you know yourself, and do you trust yourself? Because it's good to know yourself and you understand who you are and you're good with it. You love yourself, but do you trust yourself as well? Because you can't make these moves and understand what I'm talking about exactly if you don't trust yourself. Because if you do remove yourself or change from what you're doing, what are you listening to and what are you really focusing on to better make the next jump or do the next things that you're trying to do? And you may not even know exactly. I think maybe I say that, but I think we really do know. It's just sometimes we're scared of, one is new. And it may not be necessarily new. It may be something we've done, but we never took it as serious and with as smart, intelligent, focus driven, and the way that we'll go about a thing that we really love. We're scared to put it all in that because it will blow up, and not in a bad way. I'm talking about it will increase, because the way that we do things for other people, companies, and the way that we take care of things, if we pour that energy into the things that we wanted for ourselves, it would definitely show up. And I am talking directly to myself when I say that. So understanding how you do anything is how you do everything. So if you do well at your job, you do well at creating things for other people, planning and doing things for other people, you have to understand that you will do that same thing if you lock in for yourself. You just got to value who you are. Well, you got to know who you are, value that version of you at this very moment, trust that version, and then just move forward. The very next step, whatever the next step is in whatever it is that you're trying to do next, just do it and just stay consistent. Stay consistent. Again, I am talking to myself. as we co-create, I am talking to myself as well. So the roles that still work. So practical. Imagine you have a good job. You're very, very good at it. It pays the bills. You build relationships. People respect you. Maybe you even worked there for years. Nothing's wrong. But you started realizing, I don't want to organize the rest of my life around this anymore. Notice what you didn't say. You didn't say you'll quit tomorrow. You didn't say this job is bad. The job may still serve you financially. The question is whether it still serves your direction. That part. Those are two different things. Or maybe you're the dependable one in the family. Everybody knows. They call you. You figure it out. And maybe you actually enjoy helping people. That part is where it gets kind of, you kind of bleed the lines, because you really enjoy helping people. Because it's beautiful, it's amazing, until one day you realize, wait a minute, have I connected my value to being useful? That's why I said it gets tricky. because you can be so good and you really enjoy helping people, but then every time you help somebody or you see a need, you have to insert yourself instead of discerning, do I really need to involve myself in this situation? Or can I give, instead of going 1,000% on this situation, let me give what I can give. That's whatever that is. If it's advice, money, then, I mean, and when I say 1,000%, instead of, you may hone into the start of the situation to the end of the situation previously. Now you just give what you need to give and say, I'm definitely, I hope that, works out for you. I hope that information is what you need to better just help you move forward. And then you remove yourself. Or instead of giving, well, let me, sacrifice so I can just give this. No, you don't sacrifice. You still give, whatever you can give, but it's not going to hurt you to give that particular amount. And you are good to say, I think this is the magic part right here. This is, you are good with saying, that's all I can do right now. That's all I feel comfortable to do right now. To me, that's a magical statement. That's a very magical, because now boundaries. That's all I can give right now. And you got to let people deal with what they can deal with. But you just did whatever a few weeks ago or a month ago, whatever the last time, if it was the last time. Again, you don't have to be mean. You don't have to have an attitude. You can be comfortable to say, that's all I can give at this moment. And you be okay with that. So again, being the fixer, you always have the answers. You're always. That's the thing. I think some of us are. We're just always, and then you insert whatever that is for you. You always, boom. That's us. That's us at times. So when when I am allowed to not have the answer, if I'm always a person holding everything together, what happens when I want to put something down? And there's another one, relationships. Sometimes the relationship doesn't need to end. The role we play inside the relationship does. We may need to change how our the role, yes, but the character, the whatever it is that we're doing, that part needs to change, and we know it. We just either, depending on who the relationship is with, we may not want to ruffle feathers, or we may not want to, quote unquote, change, because we've always been the way that they see us. And if you feel like, no, I don't want to play that role anymore, at some point you're gonna have to really walk in that, I don't want to play this role anymore energy, because if not, then you're gonna get very, very, very resentful. And that part of you don't even want to, because again, if you were a giver and you feel like you give so much and then you're starting to be taken advantage of, the way you give and the way you move is going to change anyway. It's going to be way different. You're not going to give the way that you like to give. That's what I'm saying. Boundaries. You got to have boundaries. So maybe you've always been the planner, peacemaker, provider, fixer, the emotional regulator, that part. A lot of times people like to be around us or around us too, because we take on the energy of the room and we regulate it. We co-create, regulation. So if this person knows that when they come around me, they feel better. That's a lot of responsibility if you're not tuned in your own vibration. So it's one thing to know yourself, but that's what I mean to know yourself. Know yourself totally. Knowing how your emotions, understanding how you think, and how understanding your energetic resonance as well. Because to me, that's very, very, very important, because a lot of times because you can't see energy, you just feel it. And a lot of times, if you don't understand the feelings that you get when you're around other people, and what you need to take on and what you don't need to take on. And when I say take on, if you're an empath, I think a lot of people understand this. If you feel a lot of energies and stuff and a lot of emotions, you can call it social anxiety or whatever you can call it. To me, it's just data. It's just information that's coming through, and you either choose to take it on or you don't. And you got to get in. It's for, at least for me with this, because I used to be in a space where I play, I got to shield myself. I got to make sure I'm good. That became tired and draining. What I do, I just understand that all the thoughts and all the feelings aren't mine. They are not. But anything that is here energetically to harm me, I definitely, protect myself from that. But I don't hold up a constant shield, because I've already got in the space where anything that comes and I know it's not me, I got to just let it go. I just release it. I got to release it. To me, I always call it like it's like almost like water rushing over you, and you just let it go. You don't try to hold the water. You just let it go, because it's not yours. It's not yours to keep. Not for something I need to hone into, or if I need to get information from whatever this is. Like when I say information, because again, I'm saying this feeling and all this stuff is data. You get the information. Is it useful for me? Will it be useful? And if I don't deem it so, I got to trust myself. I got to deem it. If I deem it not useful, I also let it go as well. I don't need this information. A thought may come. I don't think like that. Why is this thought coming? It must be something here. Because we have thoughts in our head that come because your brain doesn't store the thoughts. It translates the thoughts, the vibrations. That's what our brain does. So now that your brain does that, but you're the one that can keep and hold. It's your choice, because you always have free will. You choose. You don't have to choose to keep all of that information if you don't want it. Or again, this seems interesting. I can store this or put this to the side without holding it and gripping it. Again, because that has helped me, just being in a space where when I'm out around people, and I choose to, how I want to be around people as well. Like, not saying I'm not my full authentic self, I am, but sometimes I don't want to engage in that way with, people that don't seem genuine. We can small talk, we can do those things. That's cool. But I can engage to the love I want to engage. That's my choice, my decision. That works out for me, because I feel better when I'm around people, a lot of people, especially with all kinds of different energies and different things that I feel. The sadness you can feel, the joy, the just different things you can just feel in a setting, and it can become a lot. So you got to choose, and you got to make sure that you understand, okay, I don't want to feel this. I want to, this is mine. No, it's not. And let it go and be good with that. To me, it's about when you trust yourself, you're good with the decisions you make. You're very good with the decisions you make. So sometimes you haven't outgrown people, situations. You outgrown the version of yourself. You keep becoming around them. That's worth paying attention to. That's why I was saying you got to understand who you are. And this is another aspect of trusting yourself. So maybe you don't need another version of yourself. There's something else I've been thinking about. Personal growth can become another treadmill. Who am I becoming? What's my next level? What skill do I need? What's my next breakthrough? What's the next version of me? And eventually, I think there's another question. Can I just be? Can I just be? With everything I know, appreciate, and love about myself and where I'm going, can I just be? Because it's something I was listening to, is that you are always in the moment. Can I just be me in every moment of my life and be good with that? Truly, truly be good. This kind of goes back to what we talked about last week with the stewardship. Can I just be good with me? Can I just be? Not passive, dreaming, not to stop, growing. Not that. I'm talking about something really different. What I create come from who I already know myself to be, instead of using everything I create to prove who I am? That's a huge difference, because instead of me creating to prove, I'm just, if I can just be who I am, and now I can create everything, and I understand I created it from a pure place, not to prove I'm right, not to prove you wrong, not to prove you right, not to prove that I deserve but to just create and be in a space of, I love it because I love me. So, because on one end it says I need to accomplish this so I can finally become somebody. That you see how defeating and devaluing that is. But in other words, I'm already here. Let's see what I create, because I already know that if I create it, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be thoughtful. It's going to be joyful. It's going to be powerful. It's going to be made with care. It's going to be made with love. It's going to be, because that's just what I am. That is what I'm being. So of course, anything I step in or anything I do is going to reflect that. No questions. That's why people stare at you. That's why people always want to talk to you. That's why when you go places, it's not busy. But then when you come and you're there, your energy exudes. And then as you know, it's a lot of people coming. It's the places, restaurants, whatever, get busy because you're attracting, you're magnetic. We got to understand that. We got to understand how magnetic that we are as we continue just to go forward throughout everyday life. I'm talking about everyday life, and that's what I like to talk about, how to coordinate and use your powers for every day, because you still got to be a human regardless. And like I've already said this before, you take you everywhere you go. So, and sometimes the next chapter doesn't require another certification, another identity, another title, another transformation. Sometimes it requires recognition, what you become so accustomed to that you no longer recognize it as a gift. Let me say that again. I know I'm going to repeat a few things, but this right here needs to be repeated, because sometimes we do things so well. We do things so good. We do things for us just seems, because it's easy and whatever we do, that sometimes it requires recognition. Recognizing that you become so accustomed to that you no longer recognize it as a gift. That's what we do. We do it so well that we don't recognize we're so gifted at that said situation. So maybe you're naturally good at communicating, connecting people, seeing patterns, creating experiences, teaching, listening. That's a gift. That's a gift. Solving problems, making complicated things very understandable to people, and even breaking it down for yourself. Maybe you've been doing something so naturally for so long, you stop seeing it. We stop thinking that, oh, how I do and how I move is a gift. And this connects back to like identity, because even the phrase authentic self can be another box. It truly can. What if I'm so committed to being my authentic self that that I now have another identity I have to defend? Look, I have to defend it now. I have to always over-explain, why am I doing this, or why am I being my authentic self? Maybe freedom isn't finally discovering the perfect definition for yourself. Maybe freedom is becoming so secure enough within yourself that you can continue to discover yourself, because we're deep. We got all types of layers, and it's great that we're in the deep parts of who we are, but there's more. There's always more. There's always more. And I think we got to give ourselves latitude to continue to search and find and discover new aspects of ourselves that we can just truly appreciate. So you don't need you don't need a finished definition for yourself to live an authentic life. Whatever you say and you believe now is not the end all be all. So you can say, that was generally me then. This is generally me. This is generally me now. And I'm open to discovering who I am tomorrow. So again, being yourself always is the best thing. So awareness shows you the door. Choice determines whether your life actually changes. So don't manufacture a sacrifice. So I don't want anyone to hear this episode and start looking around for life asking, what do I need to get rid of? I don't think that's the point. Growth doesn't require destruction. Alignment doesn't always cost you something. We've been taught that, and people say that Alignment doesn't have to. It doesn't always. Sometimes you realize I'm exactly where I need to be. Sometimes the relationship grows with you. Sometimes the job evolves. Sometimes the conversation goes better than you imagine. Sometimes a new opportunity arrives easily. Sometimes people support your change. Sometimes alignment actually gives you more peace, more connection, more money, freedom, creativity, and ultimately you add that with how you move, more life. So let's not manufacture suffering to prove we're serious about the growth that we are experiencing. The point isn't sacrifice to me. The point is truth. And sometimes truth all says leave. Sometimes truth says stay. It may say wait. It may say speak. So, and sometimes, the truth can say nothing outside of me needs to change. I just need to stop participating in this the way I used to. That's why this isn't about running from your life. It's about being honest enough to actually live it. So alignment isn't measured by how much it costs you. It's measured by how honestly you can meet your life. So this week, don't immediately change nothing. Observe things first. If there's something in your life you've been questioning, ask yourself, is this actually no longer mine, or am I simply uncomfortable? Am I moving forward towards something, or am I running away from something? Does this require leaving, or does it require changing how I participate in this particular situation? And these last two might be the biggest to me. If nobody applauded the decision, would I still make it? If nobody even knew I made it, would it still feel right? To me, that's the biggest, if you don't get anything out of this particular episode, to me, that's the two questions I would definitely, sit with and kind of move and just evaluate things, because those questions remove the audience, not just, not your opinion about it, but the external approval that we seek sometimes whenever we want to do something or make a move or just feel better about ourselves. So no one may even see it, understand it. That part is the biggest part to me too. Because even if you did tell people, are they going to understand it the way you want them to understand? Because I know a lot of us say stuff to people and we vent to people and they don't get it. They don't get it. So again, and it's great if you have people, like it's amazing if you have people that just get you. They don't agree with you all the time, but they get you. They understand who you are. They have invested. To me, you have to invest your life in a point of consideration and just truly, I really vibe with this person. I'm invested on how they are. And now I can listen to the situation and not be hypercritical. I can really understand where they're coming from. Even if I don't agree, I can still understand. I can see why you think like that, because I know you. That, to me, that makes sense that you would think like that. However, this is how I see it. And y'all can have a great conversation to build you up, because again, that's what we do for other people. And it's great to have it back. If you can have that reciprocated back to you, it's really great. It's really amazing that if you can have that reciprocated back to you, then, of course, though, that's gold. You got to keep that relationship. So maybe growth isn't always about removing what hurts you. Sometimes it's recognizing what still works, still functions, maybe even still benefits you, but asks you to remain someone you've already finished being. And you don't have to hate it. You don't have to make anyone wrong. You don't have to disrespect what it gave you. You really don't, because it empowered you. It got you through whatever situations and everything that you've been through. But it's okay to change. You can appreciate what something was. You really can. And still tell the truth about what it is now. Maybe that's maturity, not destroying your whole life. Don't think you have to do that. Not blow everything up and then start anew. I don't think you have to do that. Not running from every uncomfortable moment. Not consistently reinventing yourself. Just becoming honest enough to know when something belongs in your life and when it belongs to your history. It's just that simple. So you don't have to make your old life wrong. You don't have to make your old self wrong either. Honor that version. Honor that it worked. Honor what got you here. Then ask yourself, does this still require me to be someone I no longer need to be? And then just listen to how you feel about that and what comes to you. So you don't always have to destroy your old life to become more authentic. Sometimes you simply stop requiring your old life to tell you who you are. So don't forget, Avenue Talks. Holla at me, 336-464-7881. Alchemy Avenue 859 at gmail.com. And then Alchemy Avenue on Instagram, David Heck on Facebook, and The Alchemy Avenue on TikTok. Hit me up. I got a lot of different requests for some of the prints I put up. I got a lot more too. So again, if you want to see what I have, as far as these are canvases. These are 16 by 20 canvases. I forgot the size of this one. Is a vertical canvas. But yeah, just hit me up. Got those again. We got the 11 by 17 prints. And as always, and as some people have seen, you get anything from me, I'm going to always throw some extra stuff in there. And, just because I'm a giver, I like to give. And then I try to listen whenever I'm creating, or if I got a piece that somebody wants, I just listen, because there's always something that's going to be needed at that time. And I just try to add whatever I can add to help with life moving in a more powerful way, because we all need, just a boost at times. So we need, so cool. So holla at me, get with me. I send some out already, and just, get with me for whatever kind of co-creation. So love yourself so you can love others. Ashe.